Hey guys, and welcome to Daily Driven. Today we're going to be planning out our $150-ish paint job. I have a lot of stuff lined up for you guys to show you what you will need if you want to try this, on your own car or whatever, and some products to avoid. So, yeah, let's start off with, paint. So, the secret for me anyway, to get reasonably priced paint, because, everything's usually, especially like the good paint, like this, if you didn't know how much this is about $10 a piece at somewhere like AutoZone. But as you can see, I paid just $2.99 a can. So, that's pretty good. And how I did that was I went to Ollie's, is a place in Eris. It's just like a bargain outlet. And you can find these all across the country. I actually have another product here that I got from a different bargain outlet. And it's usually whenever they're, like this one for example, they still have this color. So if I wanted to, touch it up later on or whatever, I can still get this color. And make sure you do your research on that they're not discontinuing the color altogether. What they did, and the reason why this was so cheap, is they actually changed the label design. So they closed out these from the stores and it went to a bargain outlet. And it's still a really beautiful color. This is a royal blue from Duplicolor. And it's just a really, really, really nice color. It's like a really high gloss. But yeah, so you can just find these, and sadly, the way this works, this whole, this whole bargain outlet kind of thing, is you get much higher quality paint for your price, but you generally don't really get to pick the color. It's usually just whatever they have that you're okay with. So, like, originally, I'm okay with this because my car was originally going to be a cobalt blue, but I couldn't find. Oh, I actually ran into this before. I was on my way to go buy the cobalt blue, and then I ran into this, and I saw it was about, a quarter of the price what I was going to pay for cobalt blue, and I was like, royal blue, hey, it's pretty much the same anyway. Why not? So I just got that. So I got, I think, 7 cans of this at $2.99 a piece. I'm sadly going to have to order, I think, 3 more cans or so at full price, but that's okay. At least I saved a pretty good amount. But yeah, guys, so whenever you're planning out your paint, what you got to do, just as like a general rule of thumb, however many cans you think you need, add 2. I mean, then it'll help you with your scratches. You can have it with you in case they discontinue the paint and your car gets dinged up or something. You can go back over it. But yeah, guys, today we're only going to be talking about a spray paint job, right? So not a gun. Mainly because gun paint just seems to be more expensive overall, and I don't know how to gun paint. So, yeah, I'm really good with a spray can, though, so that's why I'm doing this. I just generally prefer it a lot more. And, yeah, I just don't have a spray gun that I can use fluently. Anyway, but, yeah, this stuff, if you can, I really recommend Duplicolor. Duplicolor stuff is really, 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 really good stuff. So, if you can find it, definitely get that. I have some other alternatives here. And this is actually, you can find these at Walmart, probably around something like $3.90 or something a can. This is a Rust-Oleum. This is a paint. These are both paint and primer. So this is a Rust-Oleum option. This one's in white. But generally I've had some pretty good luck with this. Yeah, I mean, it's just all around decent paint. I don't know about the holding up over time, on a car and whatnot, but we've painted like chairs and stuff with it, metal stuff, and it's held up pretty well. So yeah, that's Rust-Oleum 2-in-1 paint and primer. These generally, if you can check it out, these are generally going to give you a better value because $10 a can, $3 a can, and look at that, like, big difference in size there. But if you can find these on sale, I still recommend getting these instead, just because Duplicolor, not only, in my opinion, is a better paint, but also they have a much, in my opinion, much better painting mechanism, right? So your traditional spray top can, this one's kind of looked like it's gotten a beating. I don't know where this came from. I just picked it up. But yeah, so your traditional, just push down on the button, and it kind of hurts your fingers after a while, especially when doing something big like a car. So this is their kind of like improved paint nozzle type system. It's much smaller. It's much easier to press down, and this little, I guess, jet type thing gives you much cleaner strokes, in my opinion. Like, you can just cover so much more area. So, in my opinion, the Duplicolor, although you get less of it, I feel like it's a better overall investment because I feel like the paint's going to last much longer and it's going much cleaner. And yeah. Alright, so like I said, these two are also great options. I don't see why you'd have any problem with this. I'm not really too worried in the paint's ability to withstand weather because we're going to clear coat it anyway, right? So, I mean, they're not really going to be exposed to the elements for at least the first 3 or 4 years whenever that clear coat wears off. But I wouldn't be worried about that, especially when it's a $150 paint job. You can just do it again in 4 or 5 years. But yeah, so great options. Krylon Color Master and Rust-Oleum American Accents. They're both pretty good. If I had to choose one, I'd probably go more with the Krylon just because I have more experience with it and I prefer it. But yeah, about the same price, kind of competitors. So just choose whichever one you think is better. Okay, so that's paint out of the way. And now we have to talk about primer. So whenever you're choosing your primer, you don't actually have to use primer if you don't want to / need it. Most cars generally, if your car is already pretty decently, like the paint's still decent on it anyway, you can get away with usually just scuffing it up a little bit and going on top of that, right? So, but if your paint's really bad, like as you saw in my Cutlass video here, yeah, so it's pretty bad. So I'm going to have to definitely primer some spots. I'm going to try to use the least amount of primer I can just to save even more money. And another thing I want to talk about is rust, right? So if your car is generally newer, it's not going to have much rust. You don't really have to worry about this step. But if it does have rust, you're going to need to pick up some, stuff to fix that, right? So I really like this rust reformer stuff whenever I get done fixing up the rust. It just kind of seals it off instantly. And this can actually be used as a primer. Speaking of primer, let's go ahead and pull out those. So I have all of my primers that I have here today are Rust-Oleum. And like I said, some of those paints, the Krylon and the Rust-Oleum actually is a paint and a primer together. So that can really help you out, especially whenever you're trying to save money. So yeah. So some primers that I like are Rust Reformer. I've actually used this as a primer on a car. So I didn't primer it at all, and I just sprayed down the whole car with this and then painted on top of it. Did a pretty good job. Here are the others. This is the actual primer I want to be using on my car. I'm going to try to stay away from primer as much as I can, but anywhere that I get down to bare metal whenever we're sanding, I'm going to definitely record that for you guys too. I'm going to have to primer it. Then that's just a good rule. If you get down to bare metal, then primer. You have to. It just has to happen. Generally, if you can just take off that top layer of paint and get down to the good paint that will grab / primer, you don't have to. But if you ever get down to bare metal, you have to primer it. That's just how it's got to go. So I went ahead and bought 2 cans of this just in case I get down to bare metal in some spots. I'm going to go and touch it up. So, and then for comparison, this is sandable primer. This is actually cheaper than this. This is bonding primer. They're both made by Rust-Oleum, right? So this was actually claimed to be a professional quality primer, and this is just, I guess, standard quality. I much prefer this one. I have not had very good luck with the bonding primer at all. It's really bad in my opinion. Anytime I'm trying to adhere anything to anything, it just really doesn't work and usually bubbles up and everything. Where this stuff, sandable primer from Rust-Oleum, I've had a lot better luck with, and it's cheaper. So I believe these are about $4 something a can. Where as opposed to this is I think close to $7 a can at AutoZone, if I remember correctly. This is at Walmart. You can pick those up. Definitely, I prefer this in my opinion by far. All right, now that's paint and primer out of the way. All right, so now we have to talk about tape. Tape generally you can kind of skimp on if you're trying to save money. I don't know if there's Dollar Trees type places in the rest of the country. Probably there is. Anyway, this is from Dollar Tree, and it's Tool Bench Hardware painter's tape, right? So this stuff is like gold. It's $1 a piece. You don't get very much, as you can see, but very well worth the price. It goes on easy, comes off easy, gives nice lines, doesn't really peel. Yeah, just some awesome stuff. Generally, I don't know, depending on your car, you kind of have to choose different. You have to kind of have to make an educated guesstimate on the amount you'll need. For example, my black Caprice you guys saw in order to tape all that off, I think it used something around 18 rolls of this stuff. So $18, not bad for tape. I mean, for a whole car. For my Cutlass, which has a lot less chrome and everything, I bought 10 just to be on the safe side. I don't think I'm going to be able to use over 8, but 10 is just a safe number. All right, I've also seen people try to use this. This is like standard masking tape. I don't know about this stuff. I mean, it's great for houses and stuff like that, but for cars that it's exposed to that heat whenever you're painting it, you know, especially what we're doing outside with no coverings or anything because we're spray painting it. I don't like this stuff. It sticks. It's just not a fun time. This stuff is definitely your way to go. All right, now that's tape out of the way. Okay, now, this is very important, to me anyway, is sandpaper, right? So I have two different types of sandpaper here, one for a machine and one to do by hand. But for me anyway, here, this stuff, please do not sand your car with this stuff. This is, don't worry about the numbers, but this stuff is like really like trash. Look, it's just absolutely garbage quality sandpaper, and it'll rip. Like, you'll use probably double the amount that you would on a good sandpaper, and it's just awful. I really hate them. They hurt your fingers because you'll actually wear through the back padding of it, and then you'll just be sanding your fingers as you run along the car. This stuff is trash. Just don't even bother with it. Just suck it up and buy the good sandpaper, please, for all of our sakes. Just so, buy the good sandpaper. Speaking of good sandpaper, here is the two options that I have for you guys. I've had great luck. I've actually never used these before. I've had people that I know that use them. This is actually for, I guess, like a DA style, or yeah, dual action sanders or electrical sanders. So this is 240 grit, hook and loop, 7-inch disc, right? So these are going to be, I bought, it's a 3-pack, and I bought a total of 15 discs. And I'm sure that'll be enough for the car. If not, I guess I can go pick up a little bit more. But 15 discs cost around $20. So just to give you guys a little estimate. And you don't actually have to have a DA or some kind of sander for this. You can also do it by hand with stuff like this. That's what I've done before. It's actually my first time electrically sanding a car. All the last times I've done it by hand. My Ford Ranger, you guys can see here, that was all done by hand sanding. So, yeah, and it looks pretty good. That's all dupe color paint, whereas the Caprice that you guys see here, that is Rust-Oleum. So, just kind of give you a gauge of, you know, what you like better and what you think holds up better. Personally, I think the Duplicolor held up a lot better than the Rust-Oleum. I've already had to touch it up in a few places, and it's only been on there around 2 years, whereas the truck has had its paint for about 5 years now, and it's still looking, you know, as good as the day that we painted it. So, in my opinion, Duplicolor is a much better product, but, you know, it's up to you guys. Both of these sandpapers can be found at Harbor Freight. Hook and loop, 240 grit. So whenever I'm going with a electrical sand, I'm going to go with a little bit lower grit, mainly because it can get it more perfect, and, you know, you won't have your problems that your actual human hand will have. So I usually go with a lower grit, whereas whenever I'm painting, or whenever I'm sanding with a, you know, hand sandpaper, I usually go with the higher grit. This is 320, and they look something like this. This is a roll that you can get much bigger. Whenever I first got it, it was something around like that. These are $19 at Harbor Freight. Yeah, this is some awesome sandpaper. I've actually painted the whole top of the Camry, as you guys seen in some of the videos, the black stripe down it. I use this stuff to sand it, and it's like gold. It's so good. And I've only used about half a roll, so about $9 worth of sandpaper sanding off that whole thing. So you should have no problem doing a car with all this. That was my original plan until my dad purchased a sanding tool, an electrical sander, and we're just going to use that instead because, you know, speediness and it, whatever. But you can definitely do it without it. That was my plan originally. We need to talk about masks. Yeah, not just because COVID, but just to have. I mean, they're safe. Whenever you're sanding, it's really bad because it can get into your lungs and make you cough and make your throat all scratchy and everything. It's just not a good time. So I'd say whenever you're sanding your car, or painting it for that matter, anytime you're doing any of this, you need to be wearing a mask. It's just safe practice, and it'll help you out in the long run. So definitely do that. All right, with that out of the way, and with the mask, just get any kind. I mean, I don't think it really matters. I mean, I know certain of them have better efficiencies than others, but I think whenever you're dealing with particles as big as like pieces of like paint flaking off of your car and, you know, like the dust clouds and whatnot, I think you'll be fine with any of them that are remotely decent. That is the mask taken out of the way. And our final thing we're talking about is clear coat. This stuff, this is a Duplicolor. Sadly, I really like Duplicolor paint, but I really don't like their clear coats. This is the Clear Effects multicolor metallic effect. It doesn't have a multicolor effect. I promise you it doesn't. Everything I've put this on ends up looking, you put it on black, it's black. You put it on blue, it's still blue. Like, it has a little bit of sparkle to it, but it doesn't change color, guys. Like, it's not anything what I expected it to be. And these things are outrageous at AutoZone. I think it's something like $12 a can. Don't bother. Please, please do not pay full price for these. The only reason why I'm using it on my car is because I got them for something around $1 a can at a discount market. So I got, I think, around 9 cans of this stuff, $1 a can. So that's exactly why I'm using it. Otherwise, I would be using a Rust-Oleum multi-purpose acrylic clear coat. And they sell those. You can get a huge can, about like this size, for something around $4. And it's a really good clear coat, guys. Like, it's just a lot better in my opinion. I've used it on multiple occasions and I like it so much better. It's just a lot cleaner. It comes out better. It's a lot shinier than this stuff. You'd expect it to be Clear Effects, metallic-y, whatever, shiny. It's not. It's just, it's more of a sealant than a clear coat, honestly. Like, it doesn't really have an effect on the paint. If anything, it makes it look a little bit duller, in my opinion. But the only reason why I'm using it is just to seal up my paint to keep it from peeling, right? Now, you can actually paint your car and not use clear coat. I didn't use clear coat on the Caprice, but I feel like that was a mistake. Honestly, I wish I would have just paid the extra $50 to go buy the cans of Rust-Oleum to clear coat it than to see it where it is now, because it's peeling in certain spots and everything, and I wish I would have just paid the money, honestly. So don't make the same mistake that I did, guys, and just pay for the clear. I mean, it's not hard to do. You can do it while the car's after it's been painted. Just wait a day or so. You go back and clear coat the whole thing. And yeah, it's just so much better practice than having to do all that. It's just have to deal with it all. It's terrible. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I think this is also one thing I want to talk about. This stuff is Bondo body filler. Pretty much everybody knows what Bondo is if you're into cars, especially older ones. What this is basically like a filler, a body filler. So this stuff, although I don't really, if you can fix it like properly, then that's the way you do it with, you know, like metal or, you know, like redoing the sides. If it's like completely ate away. But for little small dents and stuff, I don't see harm in using this, especially if it's just like a standard car or whatever. I mean, Bondo's a great tool to have. It's kind of funny because every single time I buy all this stuff, I always forget like the putty, whatever, like the spatulas type thing, and I forgot it yet again. I'm gonna have to drive all the way back to go get one, or a couple. Definitely don't forget those, guys. But this stuff is pretty good. I think this will run you around $8 or so, something like that. I don't know. I haven't bought them in ages. But yeah, that's some pretty good stuff if you want to touch up your, you know, like fix some dents or whatever. But yeah. So overall, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. And yeah, so next thing we're probably going to be doing, I don't know if we're going to be doing part 2 right away. Probably will, honestly, because it's starting to get a little bit cool around. It's went from, you know, being 110 degrees in the daytime to like, I don't know, 85-ish, and pretty soon it's going to start getting into the 70s. And I want to get that paint on there and be really, really, really hot so it'll, you know, bake in and let the sun do our work for us, right? So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think. If you've used any of these products. I'm not sponsored by any of them. This is just my general opinions of the product. I purchased everything here. So, yeah. But those are just my honest thoughts about each one of these products. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.